Hey you guys! So this week we are beginning to learn a little bit more about the exploration stage. I also wanted to highlight kind of the power of emotions and how they impact our ability to engage with clients in the exploration stage. So again, this week is going to be an overview, but it's going to be a very important one to help set up your thinking and expectations of this part in the helping process. And after this week, we're going to go into specific skills in the exploration stage. So this is the framework. You guys ready? Okay. So the exploration stage, in the book they mentioned different reasons and what's going on in the exploration stage. And I thought I'd break it down, I think, in a few more simple questions. So in this part of the helping journey, which is the longest part of the helping journey most of the time, I think it's important to remember, but this time you're really meeting someone for the first time and asking yourself the question, who is this person in front of me? Why are they here? What brought them to seek help? These are helpful questions to ask your client. And in your mind, you're really trying to understand through different questions and skills, how do they, the client, understand what is going on in their life? And then furthermore, as you're learning more things about them, what about this person in particular, life experiences they've had, all those things together contribute to their current situation, what things are in the client's control, what things are out of the client's control, and what behaviors, things they're doing, thoughts and emotions am I seeing that could connect to this problem or issue. So we're really starting to gather up the puzzle pieces and lay them out before us and the client together, because again, we work in collaboration with our clients. But as you go along with clients, you might start to notice that it's not actually making a very clear picture. It's not a clear puzzle like you were hoping. Things could seem topsy-turvy or upside down, or things might not be connecting. The reason, and there are a couple reasons behind that. Something that was brought up in the beginning of this chapter was just a bit about the importance of what happens to people as we go through life, and how we understand ourselves and how that in turn impacts the counseling or helping relationship. So first, who is my client? Ideally in the exploration stage, you're starting to get to know them and understand them, and you're starting to understand the problems through their lens. However, the way that they see what is going on might actually be different from reality or from different perspectives of what could be going on. And the reason for that is self-concept. So self-concept, again, is an idea of the self that's constructed from the belief that one holds about themselves as well as responses of others. So the way that we all see the world is really dependent on who we are and the beliefs that we hold. And previously we've talked about the influence of culture and our own values, but at a deeper level, we could hold beliefs about ourselves that are unhelpful. We could have beliefs about ourselves, such as I'm not worthy, I'm not valuable, I'm not capable, I deserve this abuse. On the other end of the spectrum, far more rare, might I add. Someone could hold a belief that they are better than everyone, that they are a god, they deserve to be worshipped. We can imagine any and all of these beliefs could conflict with the reality of life, and perhaps be not very balanced and could really impact the way that someone is seeing a situation. Similarly, the responses of others, depending upon the way that someone has experienced others throughout their life, that could also really impact their self-concept. And in the book, they present a kind of theory for how personality or our self-concept develops, particularly Rogers' theory. And in his theory, I think the main piece that I'd like you to take away is that he believes that every human desires unconditioned positive regard. However, as we go through life, because our parents and the rest of the world is not perfect, we instead receive different messages that tell us what we need to be worthy. And what's important is that that can dramatically differ from who we actually are, how we feel, how we would naturally approach the world. Here I have some images of examples of that. Ideas of, for example, that men don't cry. So having emotions is not gendered. Emotions just are, but in our culture we have strong messages that men should not experience emotions the same way. I think that's changing a little bit, but still, as you can imagine, if you believe to be valuable as a male that you should not express emotions, since you can't actually stop experiencing emotions, it's going to put you in a bit of a bind. Just remember, son, it doesn't matter whether you win or lose unless you want daddy's love. We get ideas from our parents about what we need to do to be acceptable in their eyes. I don't need him to be great, I just need him to be better than the other kids we know. Not all the time, but sometimes parents put a lot of pressure on their children to perform in a certain way, and we as humans can connect that to mean that if we're going to be valuable as people, we need to perform. And of course, those beliefs can carry on into adulthood, into people who are perfectionists or overachievers, and feel like they always need to be perfect in order to be lovable. Obviously, this can also include ideas about race and identity, about value that we hold in society, someone growing up feeling inherently less valuable because of some dimension of their diversity. Beauty standards is another example. A lot of times there are a lot of subconscious and conscious ways that little girls are praised for their beauty as opposed to their intelligence or their humor or their ability to try hard. So that can create a lot of tensions inside of a lot of females that to be loved, we have to be as beautiful as possible. So these are just examples of conditions of worth. And because we as humans, according to this theory, desire acceptance and love and positive regard, we will sometimes cling to those rules that we've been taught about conditions under which we are worthy over our own true desires and feelings. So in different parts of the world, an individual may experience same-sex attraction and may be told through society or even close loved ones that they are not valuable if they have same-sex attraction, if they were gay, so they would repress those feelings. And so that's a clear example, I think, of an incongruent self-concept where you, who you really are, is in conflict with what you've been told you have to be in order to be accepted in society. And so that is a very stressful place to be. And there are ways that all of us actually have these kinds of tensions. Someone being kind of at odds with their culture because of their sexual orientation is a very overt and obvious example, but there are a lot of subtle ways that that everyone continues to feel these tensions through their lives and feel that who we are actually competes with what we feel we need to do to be accepted in society. And so Rogers just points out that then we feel incongruent as people and we feel a lot of anxiety and tension and depression, and he posits that this is where a lot of emotional instability can come from. Now, I would say there are other theories of this, of what causes emotional tension, and this won't apply to every situation. For example, there are people who are very rarely born to be sociopaths, people who don't have empathy, people who don't really care about the love and acceptance of other people. They're very rare, but it does happen. So, for example, they might not experience this kind of issue because they may not actually care about being accepted. But for the most part, I think most people, in my opinion, do sort of work this way, and I would say this theory holds some weight. So when we have these internal conflicts, they create a lot of pain and tension. So to deal with them, this is where we create defense mechanisms. So this is important for you in understanding this exploration stage, that when you're trying to get this information about this person that you're with and get to know them, that you may actually, most of the time, meet some defense mechanism first. So when it feels like everything is topsy-turvy and things aren't making sense and pieces aren't clicking, there might be a defense mechanism in place that's actually keeping the person that you're working with from actually experiencing and acknowledging what's going on for them. So let's give some examples. In the book, they gave an example of perceptual distortion. I have a handful of people in my life that I care about very much, for example, who tend to deal with very low self-esteem. And so the example they gave in the book is actually an example of someone, this happened to someone I knew that and care about, that they received a promotion, and instead of them kind of saying that, acknowledging that that was because of their hard work and their skill. They felt like, well, there was, the boss had to put someone in this job, why not me? They might kind of downplay it, because accepting that they had value would compete with their actual belief about themselves. So that defense mechanism was one to keep them in an area of low self-esteem. Denial is a very common one. When we have negative emotional issues that we don't want to deal with, we don't like confronting the ways that we feel incongruent in ourselves, we don't want to confront the pain that we feel or the anxiety we feel, we can just deny that those feelings exist, never want to talk about them, kind of shut down, or someone starts to talk to us, clients a lot of times will say, oh no, it's not an issue for me, and later on you might, once they feel safer with you, they might finally acknowledge, yeah, this is an issue for me, I am struggling. Compartmentalization can be kind of similar in flavor to denial, but they just kind of keep that area of their lives. Maybe they never want to talk about their childhood, they've compartmentalized it. We're only going to focus on the here and now. I've had so many clients say to me, so we're not going to talk about any of that like childhood stuff, right? We're just going to like talk about the problem now. They're trying to compartmentalize, and I'll tell clients, well, we might not have to, but if when we're talking about what's going on for you, if it seems like it could be helpful to explore how experiences you had as a child could come into play, I'm probably going to go there. It's up to you whether or not you go there with me, and that's okay. But if a client kind of from the start says, like, let's not talk about this thing, it usually means that we need to end up talking about that thing. Projection can be another common one. If you see people coming into the helping relationship, a good example is someone who tends to be a victim, not saying that they haven't been a victim, but if in almost all of their way that they see their interactions with the world, they tend to like kind of place themselves as a victim and feel like everyone has bad intentions for them. They might not be dealing with some of their own experiences and way they've seen the world, and maybe they actually have really bad self-esteem, but instead they're going to project that on other people, that other people are trying to make them have bad self-esteem, but they are probably actually talking to themselves in a way that keeps them feeling pretty low. So hopefully that's not too muddy. So the goal in the exploration stage is, as said in the book, reintegration, helping our clients become aware of distorted thoughts and feelings, become aware of some of these deep messages that play in our heads that actually keep us from flourishing, some of these deeper messages that cause distortion and incongruence and tension inside of us. However, here's the key and why I wanted to highlight the importance of emotion in this process. So here's the thing. In the process of trying to help a client become a little more integrated within themselves, have a healthier sense of self, etc., we're going to have to often go up against these defense mechanisms, right? So a lot of times there are messages or emotions that a client is having that they're not even aware of that are actually getting in the way of them approaching their problems a little bit differently. However, like I said, we create those defense mechanisms for a reason. So the example I gave earlier of someone who has a defense mechanism of just kind of, they have low self-esteem, so they always assume that they're not valuable, and they interpret other people's actions as having nothing to do with them having value. If you push against that defense mechanism and really kind of challenge them on it, they're going to get stressed because you're asking them to not be defensive, but actually confront something. And so this brings out the stress response. And if you've heard about the stress response before, there's usually flight or fight. So flight is, I don't want to deal with this, so I'm just going to become stunned. And fight is, I am going to come at you. So this can be a very common experience in good helping when you're really trying to get past someone's defenses. And I say the stress response, stress can be any, usually in this instance, strong negative emotion. So if they're feeling depressed, they're feeling angry, they're feeling anxious, if you really get to those emotions, they're going to have a flight or fight response. And so the example I give of someone having poor self-esteem, they might be more likely to kind of try and continue to deny, to flight, to play dead, just kind of shut down. But for some people with different issues, they might have this fight response. Suddenly they're pushing back at you and you don't know why. So it's important we understand how powerful these emotions can be. And when we're in a helping relationship and we're trying to help someone explore an issue that could be connected to things they've dealt with a long time, they're going to get scared because it's scary. It's scary to go to these places they haven't gone before. It's scary to confront these messages that they've carried around their whole life. So that is why it's so important that we have to create a safe, positive space for clients to explore these inner tensions. Again, a lot of times we might come in contact with tensions that people have felt for a very long time, and they've become very good at hiding it or denying it or have very strong defense mechanisms. So if we're going to actually try to get beneath those defense mechanisms, we need to create a safe space so they're not feeling that stress response, so they're not feeling cornered. I use these images of animals because, humans, we're animals too, and I think we can, think of a time if you've ever had to comfort a scared animal. I know with my little kitty girl, Stella, when I first got her, she had been attacked by dogs, and she was kind of afraid of everyone. So I had to learn, I can't yell it out of her. I can't yell at her to stop being kind of a little freaked out mess. I have to be calm with her and steady with her. I have to reassure her. So those facilitative conditions of being genuine, being honest, direct, not being fake, having acceptance, showing unconditional positive regard, acknowledging our clients' experiences as valid experiences, having empathy, tuning into their feelings, these are all going to create those facilitative conditions that will help a client experience and face tough thoughts or emotions that they've been avoiding having. That is a huge goal of the exploration stage, not only to explore what's going on, but you have to first create the container in which they are safe enough to explore that. So the emotional response is very powerful. Clients can feel uncomfortable and shut down very easily when they're confronting really difficult issues. So it's just important, again, to have those positive facilitative conditions so that they feel safe and accepted. So just quickly, just the goals of the exploration stage, more specifically, number one should be, no surprise, establishing rapport. So making sure that you are building a relationship with them from the very start and continuing to build that relationship with them throughout your helping experience. In the book, they talk about this is also part of learning to walk a mile in their shoes. A part of establishing a relationship with your client is showing them that you're willing to really try to understand their experiences from their perspective. Just because we all have kind of bias in the way that we see the world and, might not see things correctly doesn't mean the way that we see things doesn't matter, if that makes any sense. A client who has poor self-esteem and is always being really hard on themselves, maybe they are being too hard on themselves, but it still matters that they feel that way. So showing them that how they feel is okay and we want to understand. Attending, listening, and observing. These are actually some specific skills that we'll be exploring starting next week, actually the next 2 weeks, because they're so critical. But different ways that their techniques in terms of how we're hearing them, listening to them, responding to them, actually our body language towards them, if we're closed off, if we're looking away, or if we're kind of present and engaged. These are all techniques, but they also communicate how engaged we are and how willing we are to be there with them. So using these skills to better understand our clients and build relationship, as well as we're helping clients explore their thoughts and narratives, helping them understand their subjective experience of reality, no matter what that is, because that is important and it's valuable, and then maybe helping them explore how their view of reality might match up with other people's view of reality, helping them understand different factors of why they think that way and feel that way. Much like in this class, I'm really emphasizing you understanding yourself as a helper, why you want to be a helper, experiences in your life that have contributed to that. This is helping them make those kind of connections for themselves with whatever issue they're having. Why do I feel this way? Factors that have helped me feel this way. What does this mean about me, etc. Very open, very exploratory. Haha, wink. Encouraging the expression of the experience of feelings. Again, a lot of times in the stage, to really get the whole picture, we're going to need clients to really get to how they're feeling. And oftentimes we have a lot of resistance to that, particularly because if we're coming to get help, we're experiencing pain. We don't like to experience pain, so we put up those defense mechanisms. So in a positive helping relationship, we're helping someone actually experience those tough feelings. so that they can kind of integrate those feelings into how they're seeing the situation. We don't have to listen to every emotion and do what every emotion tells us, but it's good to be aware of those emotions and what they are saying, and to understand if we need to listen to them or not. Sometimes we need to listen to our emotions, sometimes we don't. But this is a place to really encourage that expression. And, lastly, we are continuing to learn about our clients. So that is both conceptual in the exploration stage. We're getting as much information as we can about the client and what's going on. All that information is going to be helpful for us and the client to make decisions about what to do, how to gain insight, figure out where to kind of engage with this problem. But it's also, again, a way of showing that we care about them, of building rapport, that we're interested in them, we're curious about them. This is also where we are, I think, when we explore with clients, we also just learn more about humanity and people. I really enjoy learning about clients as individuals, but I'm really personally changed as a person by getting to learn about all different people from all walks of life that I've had the privilege of helping. So it's a really cool thing that you get to do as a helper, I think. So that's it. That's kind of the end of this kind of lecture for the week. So again, setting up our framework of the exploration stage, what to expect, that it's going to take a while. We're going to learn different skills for the helping stage, but we also want to make sure we're connecting those skills with the facilitative conditions of having empathy, compassion, unconditional positive regard. So hope you enjoyed that. Here's just some general news. Journal 2 is due this week. I tried to give specific feedback on journals last week. Biggest thing is a couple people made them a little short. Be sure you're hitting 300 to 500 words of rich content. Obviously, don't just add some fluff sentences. I just want to hear your thoughts and how you're processing this class and the material, and of course respond to the prompts. Great job on the quiz. The average score was 90%, so well done. If you really struggled with the quiz and you feel like you need to check in with me or need any extra help, please feel free to do so. Also, for anyone who just generally wonders who is this person teaching my class, feel free to set up an appointment with me anytime during the semester if you want. Also here for anyone who wants to know about counseling as a profession, if that's an interest of yours. I love my job, so you could like it too. But anyway, Hex just wanted me to remind you what's going on in the class. So that'll be all for now. I'll catch you guys next week. I hope you enjoy the rest of the videos I selected, and look forward to your discussion boards and your journals. Bye, you guys.